listening to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What's up, Forgers? Welcome to Season 3, Episode number 110 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. As always, this podcast is brought to you by our rockstar supporters on patreon.com/HeroesForge. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show, who's more awesome than an original Xbox Halo LAN party. It's Kristen Ashton.
We're going back. This takes me to senior year of high school, the last few days in theater class. Boys brought that in, and we played Halo a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't win many, but it was fun.
I mean, that was a thing. How cool is that to go back and think about? We couldn't play it online. Well, there was a point you could play it online, but we wanted to all be in the same room together. We all wanted to, go inside my mom's garage and hook up an Xbox and have to get like a 3,000-foot extension cord from inside to bring it out and, haul that heavy-ass TV all the way to the garage and set it all up and play for a total of, 45 minutes before we passed out on pizza rolls and Mountain Dew.
Exactly. It took longer to set up than the time was actually spent playing it. But that was the best part. There's nothing like, in college it was an Xbox, it was on the Wii, and it was Smash Brothers. And those parties were so much fun because even if you didn't play, there was a lot of cheering and smack talking and side taking, and those led to some great nights.
Absolutely. Actually, I have a story about this that I'm just remembering right now where I signed up. This is going to make me sound a little funny, but trust me. I signed up for this thing called Relay for Life, which is an awesome cause. You can go and you can donate money to cancer research, and it's really, really neat. The way that Relay for Life works is that you can either get donations or you can get pledged, kind of like a jogathon when you're in grade school. You can get pledged for how many laps you're going to walk around this high school track over an entire night. It's like a 14-hour thing. You get there at 5 o'clock at night and you leave the next morning at like 10 or something like that. And what we did is we didn't get any pledges because we weren't going to do any walking, but we did stay there all night, and we just hooked up an Xbox and we got just pure donations so that we wouldn't have to do any walking. We raised money for the cause, and we got to play Xbox instead of walking around a track.
That is so cool. The one we did was a lot less cool. It was the Ergathon, and it was for crew, and you set up those row machines in the gym, and you stay up all night rowing. Oh. And that's how we raised the money, and our coaches made sure we all did enough.
I know, I'm saying we should have just started our own Halo fundraiser for something like this, and we just could have played Halo all night. Well, we ended up doing that anyway, and we still raised money, so it was awesome.
Exactly.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the news section, as always, here on Heroes Forge. First of all, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading the show on your favorite podcasting app, watching us live, or checking out the YouTube VOD. We really appreciate it. Thank you. I took place in the Creators of the Storm tournament yesterday, Kristen, on the Nexus troll site, and it was a blast.
I heard you had some really awesome games, and some tell of a 45-minute game.
Yeah, it was crazy. So the way the tournament worked was it was a little round robin at the start. There were we played 3 games at the beginning, and we won all 3. I had awesome teammates, and we won all 3 games at the beginning, and then we went into the elimination phase and we promptly lost the first 2 games, but it was so fun. I mean, all of the creators of the Storm, everyone that does these podcasts, everyone that is a streamer on Twitch, everyone that was part of this specific event, Creators of the Storm, it was great. And a huge shout out to Daz from Trolls, Nexus Trolls. What a great event you guys put on yesterday. And I think they're thinking about doing it biannually. But as of right now, it's annually, and it's an awesome thing. I'm sure you can check out all of the VODs. Head over to their website, trolls.gg, and make sure you download Nexus Trolls for your next podcast. As you're commuting through the world, you can be entertained by all their awesomeness as well. We got Heroes of the Dorm, Kristen. We talked about it last week, and we're talking about it again this week. And I think we'll be talking about it until those brackets are finally completed. I have the awesome opportunity of casting some more Heroes of the Dorm Northern Arizona University games today at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/official_NAU_esports. Sorry, I had to do that off the top of my head. So it's official NAU esports, all underscores, and it's on Twitch today at 6 p.m. Pacific. Come watch your favorite, what I like to call us Wood League casters, as we attempt to cast some Heroes of the Dorm and have a blast doing it.
Hey, wood can be pretty darn expensive if you go for that rare, heavy stuff. So I wouldn't count yourselves out of the running just yet. And so how's it working tonight? Is it a best of 5, best of 3? Are they fighting a few teams?
Yeah, so because of the rules of Heroes of the Dorm, we're unable to bring you the games live as they're happening. So what we do is we cast the replays, and the replays tonight, they're going to be playing 4 games, two games at the start, and then we'll go into the second of the 4, and we're going to just have some fun and look at it. And this is a huge shout out to someone like Cavalier Guest, who casted yesterday. I don't know how you guys all have those abilities memorized. I mean, flashcards and this crazy stuff, because I'm pretty sure tonight I'm going to be saying something like, "Ooh, Tyrael just did that flashy thing."
Well, it works, right? Because he did do the flashy thing. I mean, it's better than Rexar Rhaegar. Oh man, I can't tell those two apart. Whenever Rhaegar's on there, it's Rexar, and vice versa. You talk about confusing. At least Tyrael does do a flashy thing.
That's right. So that'll be pretty sweet. Make sure that you check that out as well. Lots more going on too. Divinity 2, we're streaming again. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're just not sure how long that tunnel is.
It keeps going and it keeps winding. We're in a new basement. I know that. I don't know how many basements we've been in, but last week we had the hardest battle we've ever faced in Divinity. And we were all joking that it was going to be a wipe, but you know what? It wasn't. We managed to pull through and take down this demon that we'd heard of ages ago, who had cursed a tree and an elf soul that had been locked inside.
Yeah, the story is thick and it is awesome, and we did really well, and it was scary, and we really thought we weren't going to make it there after a while, but with our powers combined, we were Captain Planet, and we beat that demon, and now we're on to the next scary basement, which no one really knows. It should just be called Scary Basements 2. But you can check it out today at 2 o'clock Pacific on twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. Also, as always, which I'm sure you are already if you're a fan of Heroes of the Storm, check out Kyle's stream. It is killer, and there is a ton of stuff that is Heroes related on his page, twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. Kristen, I had a chance to go to my first Overwatch League game live last week in Burbank, California.
How was it? And was it in an official Overwatch auditorium arena?
Yeah, it was in the official Overwatch Burbank Arena up there, which used to be part of the CBS studios in North Hollywood. Now it's part of a different studio a lot, but they've taken over a whole portion of it. It's incredible. I mean, if you thought a BlizzCon esports event was crazy, I mean, now they have a semi-permanent space that they can build it in. The merchandise is out of control. The games were awesome. The energy was great. But I have to say something. I really, really cannot follow Overwatch esports very well, like the actual gameplay. It's very difficult for me, someone that I play Overwatch but not a lot, but to understand what's happening, what's going on when I'm used to watching Heroes esports with the top-down view and you can see everything that's going down. Man, it's just so fast-paced and there's so much going on the scene, like everything that's happening, that it's so hard to follow.
That's fascinating, because that's how I felt about StarCraft too. Oh, because I went to many competitions for that. And after a year did I finally start coming around to what was going on when someone would send in a tiny probe versus someone's Zerg, and then they would see a building and the crowd would lose their minds.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that building is important, but it is. And I guess Overwatch, it sounds like it's very similar because they jump from first person to first person view, right? There's no top down that they can cut to.
Well, they recently, just with the start of Overwatch League, developed a top down view, but the top down view is just little icons that are moving around. It's not an actual rendering of what's happening, or if it is, it's just so far away that you can't tell what's going on. So, that was something, and that helped a little bit. And maybe I just need a bunch more Overwatch training in my brain. But the production quality of that thing, this LED screen in the background, if you check it out on Twitch in person, it's stellar. Like, it's just so cool. I got another beef though. They don't serve beer or drinks in the concession stand. What?
Really? Really? See, that's something I think they would have introduced with the Overwatch League, that they would have already started with partnerships with Budweiser and the nachos, the cheesy nacho company. Whoever you are, we love you. Because you probably produce the hot dogs as well.
That's right. Yeah. So maybe it's a liquor license thing. Maybe they're trying to get on top of it. I'm sure they are, because they want that cash money, and that I'll spend that cash money if you have some of those adult beverages there. All right. Enough of this BS. It's time to get into it and do what we are here to do today, and that's Forge.
Let's forge.
We're going deep, deep, deep into the catacombs this evening. Way down deep, maybe to the final boss level here.
We are going to the final boss level here, because this past week, the Hearthstone, the Reno Jackson, it got me thinking. And there's one boss that I really, really enjoy. I've never beaten her, but I really like how she was designed and how she plays in the dungeon runs.
Yeah, absolutely. In the dungeon runs, this is the boss that I don't want to fight, because it's so cool how it's designed and how you have to... they're going for a real pen and paper feel here with these dungeon runs and with Kobolds and Catacombs, which was released earlier this year, or later last year, rather. And so... The thought that you have to pay attention to what's happening with this boss, and maybe even write some things down on paper while you're playing this boss, is cool. We see that in Divinity when we play Divinity now. This is a computer game that is based off of Dungeons and Dragons, or this whole, you could basically say that about any game, really. But this game has the feel of a Dungeons and Dragons game, and sometimes we have to write things down.
Yeah, we do. We have to take notes. And this is particularly interesting because Xol the Unscathed, who we're forging today, she tells you what she's going to do on her next turn, which is a wonderful trope to give a boss or a bad guy, because they are so sure of their power that they're going to give you a chance to react ahead of time to what they're going to do. And she does just that.
Yeah, and hopefully you've picked the right tools as you're battling your way through the dungeon to get to the point where you're able to combat whatever it is she's about to throw at you. So, Kristen, give us a little rundown on Xol.
Can do. Unique to Hearthstone's Kobolds and Catacombs, Xol the Unscathed is an observer serving as one of the final bosses in the dungeon run. Equipped with 7 eyes and many tentacles, this fiendish monster comes with a set of 6 powers used to challenge even the most hardened dungeon veterans.
Yeah, and a creepy but rainbow-colored boss we're talking about here.
Exactly, a beholder, but not in the D&D sense where the tentacles have eyes on the edge of them, but in the sense that her body has eyes on it that each do different things, and then she's just got tentacles that kind of float around.
Yeah, and she's got some pretty good voice lines in the game as she's trying to do things to you, and like you said, giving you a hint of what may be coming. And again, she's at the very end, the last boss of the dungeon run, so you can get there and you can either vanquish the final boss or start back over with the giant rat on your next go of the dungeon run. Have you been doing a lot of dungeon runs still?
Yes, and I usually get that rat, but my favorite is that whelpling, because the voice is adorable. That feeding time, yeah. I love it. Of course I want to feed a baby dragon, because then it grows up to be a big dragon.
I like yeah, but don't you end up destroying the dragon in the end?
Oh, maybe.
But it's just a card game.
I haven't defeated that dragon. I still haven't beaten a dungeon run. I'm no good at card games.
You'll get there.
I'm no good.
You just need the rod of roasting, and then you can just cross your fingers and play one card, and who knows, maybe you'll win. But we're here to talk about Xol, so let's get started. What we're going to do on this show is we're going to make some kits as if Xol was a character that we brought into Heroes of the Storm. A big announcement happened today where they're going to be doing, or a few days ago, where they're going to be doing a bunch of hero reworks, a rework to Hanamura. This is the stuff that's always on top of their mind, which is really cool, Kristen. How did you take that news from Blizzard?
I'm always cool with it, because the changes keep the game fresh and exciting. Because a big complaint from Dota or League of Legends that you hear often is that you get one map and you get some heroes, and reworks do come in. That's not to say changes don't happen, but here in Heroes, the meta is constantly shifting because when they make changes, they make big changes. And sure, that means chaos for a week or two before things settle down again. But once things settle down again, it always feels really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of took it like they weren't going to be releasing as many new heroes as we've been seeing. And we know that's been hovering around the Heroes of the Storm universe for a while, that they're going to slow down on new hero releases because the pool has gotten big enough to sustain this product now. So now we're going to go back and see, well, all these other heroes that we released. When we released Sonya, we really didn't think about Blaze. So, like, how are we going to, update Sonya, put her in there? That was just an example. I know that really doesn't play into each other. But it's cool to see that. So if you're looking for your new hero fix, listen to this show because we'll be talking about what new characters were if they were able to come into the game. Let's get started. Kristen, you want to go first or second on this lovely Sunday afternoon?
Oh, this lovely Sunday. I'll go ahead and take the first one this week.
All right, let's hear it. What role classification are you building, Xol?
All right, the role I'm going with is Assassin.
Nice. Assassin was the very, very first thing that I thought of as well. I mean, the fact that she can just destroy you in Heroes of the Storm pretty quickly if you don't have the right loot is pretty assassin-y to me.
Oh, very much so. And I did play with the idea of support because of the eye beams and what those do, but ultimately they're just damaging. After going over those eye powers, could not keep her a support.
Very cool. So what is your trait for your Xol Assassin?
The trait, I'm going with Flummox. It's an activatable trait, and Flummox allows the player to add spell power to either their Q, their W, or their E. While this spell power lasts indefinitely, so long as it's on for that specific power, the first few seconds allow for a huge increase in spell power for that chosen ability.
Very cool idea here. So you've got the practice that you need to put in to be able to go, I need to activate my trait and then be able to immediately activate another one of my basic abilities moving forward. Not just, I'm going to activate this and it's going to be, on me as I move around. And if I decide to use it, it's going to work. You're going to gain the most value out of it if you do it this way.
Totally. I think it's really important to be able to practice timing and when everything should go off and the order it should go off and being aware of your cooldowns. And what way to make people aware of their cooldowns than having a trait that directly ties to that?
I love it. So tell me a little bit about the interface on how this works for selecting your Q, W, and E to get the spell power. Is this something that you activate and then click on the spell in your spell bar, or do you maybe activate the spell using your keyboard? Or how do you choose which one it's going on?
I'm thinking the best way to do this would be to 1 is the Q, 2 is the W, 3 is the E, so that the activation is separate and you do get punished if you don't activate the QWE on time based on if it has that initial burst attached to it or not.
I like it. That's cool. I didn't even think of that sort of pathing that you could do. I love it. That is really neat. I can't wait to see what these abilities are to put on top of that. But before we get there, what about mounting?
I think the best thing would be, so she's got all these tentacles on her backside. I think they'd go all twisty. So you know how in some cartoons there'll be those little characters, they use their tails, they put them at a 90-degree angle and then they become little propellers? That's how I want all of her tentacles to become little propellers.
You win. That is such a great idea. My mounting ability is like, no, she just moves faster. But
There's
this is
nothing wrong
great.
with that, though. She's already floating, right?
That's true. So tell me, what do you think about her toon size in the game? Are we talking like a Probius size? That's first what I think of, but then I think that's too small.
I agree with you. It is kind of too small. And I mean, beholders, not beholders, beholders are imposing. They're supposed to be imposing. So I think she should be bigger to kind of play into that. Maybe double Probius size.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe like the size of Asmodan, like that bigger floating top portion of Asmodan.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And maybe if they want to keep it kind of contained, the actual silhouette, including the tentacles, maybe get to be that big. Just Asmodan's belly. So she's not going all big, and she takes up an entire lane.
Totally. And we've seen beholder-ish type things inside of World of Warcraft, and they can be massive, like boss size massive in Warcraft. So I think the size varies depending on the evilness of you. And Asmodan's pretty evil, so maybe around there.
Yeah, I like that. And I mean, Xol's pretty evil. How many dungeon crawlers has she taken down in her career? What's the win rate against this monstrosity?
It's got to be low. It's got to be low. I'm telling you, because you don't know if you're going to get her or not. So it's got to be real low. All right, let's get into these basics that we're able to augment using your trait. What is your first basic ability?
Right. The first one is called Flame. Xol's yellow eye lights up, creating an unbroken beam that deals fire damage to all enemies it lands on, similar to Lucio's heal. While the damage isn't enormous, it's the damage over time that becomes dangerous if it's left unchecked. If enemies are hit with that short initial burst from the trait, they catch on fire and take fire damage even after the beam has been removed.
I love it. This is great. And we're talking about a lot of beams here today, I'm sure. And do you think that this beam pierces? Does it go through other people, or is it like a Li Ming beam that whatever its first target that it hits, it stops there?
I think it goes through.
Nice.
I'd be very sad if this thing didn't go through, because it's not going to do a lot of damage on its own. It's very slight, but it's the whole idea that you're casting this on somebody who isn't paying attention, and by the time they pay attention, they've taken a lot of damage.
I love it. It's so cool. And just the thought of these beams shooting out is just a cool image in my mind of what this would be. Now, can she move when this is going? Are we seeing like a diva auto attack animation kind of thing here, where she can be moving around the battlefield while this beam is going off, or does she have to stay stationary?
Oh, this is definitely something. She can move during all of her abilities. And the way I see it is that it's a beam that has a set size and it's unbroken. It is continually shooting out this laser, so there aren't any breaks in it, and she can sort of aim it like Hanzo's arrow, and when it's on, it's on. You don't have to keep hitting Q to shoot the laser. No pew pew here. This thing just goes.
So does it use mana? Do you think she has mana, and this is like a chromie sand trap or whatever that thing is called, where it just slowly jams your mana up if you keep it out for too long?
Oh, that's the question, isn't it? Because just like this one, the rest of her abilities, I want to kind of hold, but at the same time, that is a great point I didn't think of.
Well, let's hear these other abilities, and then maybe we can come to a conclusion after that.
Okay, sounds good.
So what's your second basic ability?
All right, the second one is Frost. Xol's blue eye pulses power waves outward, chilling enemies that are hit by this cone. When chilled, they become vulnerable and move slower, and if enemies are hit with the buffed version, they are rooted.
Man, you better gotta be practicing that QW right there, because you're gonna get some serious stuns.
And it's gonna be great. Jaina's gonna be so jealous because all she has is ice powers. But in comes this thing, and it's got ice and fire.
That's right. So tell me a little bit about what this looks like. Is this another beam that comes out, or is this going to be like maybe like a sound wave pulse? Because you use the word it pulses.
Exactly. So all of these things, when they come from the eyes, are going to have a different look to them. So the fire thing is just a straight laser that keeps going. This one is going to be this cone explosion outward. So you know how cones, when there's that pulse coming out, there's a line and it travels forward but gets a bit wider before fading into disexistence. Very much like that. Yeah.
I like it. I love it. And I love the fact that you can choose whether you want to use your power up from your trait on this or any of the other two basic abilities. Talk about a skill cap that you have to master, being able to know. It seems like it would feel a lot like Valera to me, coming out of stealth. What type of attack you're going to use coming out of stealth. You have to be smart enough to know who you're attacking and what's going to affect them the most at that given time. That's the same feel with this Xol thing, where you're thinking, do I need to root them now, or would I use the bigger damage on my Q?
Exactly. And of course, you have to ask yourself, how long does it take for that trait to cool down before you can switch it again? So what's going to bring the most bang for the buck, basically, like you said?
I love it. What's your third basic?
Right, third one is fear. Xol's purple eye begins whispering nameless horrors into the minds of all those enemies caught in its area. Unable to comprehend the sheer meaninglessness of their own existence in the face of such ancient creatures, enemies are feared. But unlike Gul'dan's fear, they keep walking in the direction set for them, but instead kind of meander a little. So they're walking forward, but maybe they walk a little to the left before going forward again, and then to the right before going forward again. If this fear is then maxed with the trait, the enemies are feared away from where the purple eye is centered, like a Gul'dan fear.
Okay, cool. So you're basically throwing in like a wander here. They start to wander away.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good word to use there.
How
wander.
close do you have to be to Xol to be affected by this?
I think there's going to be a circle around the purple eye and any enemy caught within this. So smaller than a Brightwing heal, probably half the size, just so you have to get into the action to even make it happen.
I like it. And does it work like a traditional fear in the respect of being able to use abilities or attack during yourself being feared?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm gonna go with no, because once you turn off the fear, you're turning on one of the other eyes. I want to say that Xol isn't powerful enough to open up all of her eyes at one time.
Okay, cool. I really like it. And even that's a level 20 storm talent to be able to use other abilities at the same time. Imagine firing off a damage, your Q, your damage beam, and then also being able to fear the people that are near you. I mean, that sounds really, really awesome. So when you are feared, you can't attack.
I didn't actually come up with the answer to that because it's more of a movement impairing kind of a thing. So maybe you can attack, but it's easier for range to attack because the wander, it doesn't stop them from moving toward the target. It just kind of impedes how fast they get there.
I like it.
So yeah, so maybe it's harder for the melee to actually land an attack with this.
I like it because it makes it live better on a basic ability like this rather than Gul'dan's Fear where you can't. I mean, that's heroic sounding, and that would be really just a cool way of, I'm going this way, but I have to attack still.
Aha! Exactly.
So cool. All right. That's how we're dealing with those beams. Let's talk about heroics. What is your first heroic in here?
First one, we're going with Fatality. Xol's main eye, the one in the middle of her forehead, opens up, revealing a type of vision no living creature should possess, one seeing life and death. When open, this eye allows Xol to target one enemy. A beam of light shoots out and wraps itself around the hero, engulfing them in an aura that links back to Xol. If that hero drops below a certain health percentage while targeted with this, they die.
Love it. And that is the card in Hearthstone to a T, right? This whole fatality idea where if some of your minions have taken damage and she uses this fatality beam, if they've taken damage already, they're gone. They die. So this is a really clever way of adding this into Heroes of the Storm. So it's going to shoot out and it's going to show that the two are linked together. So basically what you're doing here is you're reducing that hero's health pool while linked to Xol.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, the visual is that everyone sees who's linked. So the enemy team has to protect that person, and your team has to go in and try and take them down.
That's great. I mean, I already start thinking about some crazy esports moments where, somebody throws a Tassadar wall up in front of the person that's affected by this fatality, trying to save their life. Ice blocks up the wazoo. You can just this is such a cool idea.
Thanks. Yeah, and I love that idea of just killing people outright. I've been having so much fun with Last Rites on Malthael. It feels so good right now, and it's great to mark somebody. Boom. They're gone.
Yeah, that's a great point, that the game is not afraid to do something like this already. I mean, Greymane has a similar type of ultimate attack too, where you just know that if you jump to this target, they're going to die.
Exactly. And then resets on Li Ming. I mean, kill chains, baby.
It's great. What's your second heroic?
The second one is called Fatigue. Xol opens her two topmost eyes. Their beams fly outward and connect with all enemies in front of her. The beams then suck themselves back into Xol's eyes. Mana or energy or rage or anything that isn't health is sucked back into Xol's body, refilling her mana stores and giving her a surplus she can access for a limited period of time.
Nice. So this is basically a way to just go crazy. Right? You're fueling yourself up to just go crazy. So at the very beginning of a team fight, you would use fatigue. It would latch these beams onto the enemy. Does it pull them with it, or is it just pulling the stuff out of them?
It's just pulling the stuff out of them. So kind of, when you watch explosions and the waves that travel outward and then suck back in, that's kind of the look I'm trying to go for with the colored beams that shoot out of these eyes. It goes forward, it kind of disappears, and then suddenly it sucks back in. Maybe similar to how Malthael sucks souls out of humans in his Reaper of Souls video.
That is awesome. That's one of the best cutscenes ever. Just adding this in there is so cool. Oh, so you're powered up when you're going in. You're basically buffing yourself off of the enemy's misfortune.
Exactly, their own mana reserves. And that would be extremely powerful now, because who do we have that helps people regen their mana? We've got Malfurion.
Yep.
With his main little thing, but that's about it.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that's about it. And that's such a cool piece of this. I play a lot of Malfurion, and when you get in there with Malfurion, you're basically always trying to get your innervate up so you can adjust your hero's mana pools, and you're playing with assassins that need a lot of mana and all of that. So very, very, very cool way of bringing that alive in a heroic, and then buffing yourself as Xol and just, throwing out beams right after that. I mean, this would be an electric light show.
It totally would. I mean, visually, this would be like nothing we've ever seen in Heroes of the Storm before. And I think as a designer or a creator, you could have so much fun with this.
Oh, you absolutely could. I love it. Very cool. If you had to sum it all up, Kristen, how do you sum this one up?
I've got it bad for you.
Wink,
UIE, exactly. I mean, Xol is not above throwing in some bad eye puns and talking about watching you all the time. So I don't think she deserves anything more.
Hey, you gotta live it. If you've just got, how many eyes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different eyes. I mean, people are gonna be looking at you funny, so you might as well just own it.
Exactly. You make it a thing. What was it? The Lannister, was it Tyrion?
Tyrion, yep.
The midget, you use it as armor and no one can hurt you with it. And that has a good amount of truth to it.
Very true. All right, we're moving on to the second build here, but before we do, we have some people that we need to thank as always, and those people are our awesome supporters on patreon.com/HeroesForge. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We are dollars away from reaching our first goal on patreon.com. Check it out, and if we reach that goal, we will be providing Flash Forge episodes to all of our patrons, where we're going to sit down and we're going to quickly forge off the top of our our heads some heroic abilities for a random character for each other. It's gonna be crazy once we reach it. So if you've been thinking to yourself that you want to throw us a buck or two, that's the best way to do it. And a huge thank you to everyone that's already doing that on the site. Also, thank you to everybody that's given us a 5-star review on iTunes. It really helps the show grow. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we're getting into the second build here, which is mine. And I went, Kristen, with a multi-class for Xol here, but I'm going warrior, support, and assassin multi-class.
Oh, so the support made it in. Interesting.
It did, and this would be the first 3 multi-class. You know, we have variant now, and yesterday during the tournament, I was talking to TBK Zord a little bit about how I want more multi-class heroes in the game because I think that's such a cool thing. So that kind of inspired my build for this, and it all starts with the trait, and this is a long one this time. So the trait is called Beam Me Up, which is also her hero power in Hearthstone. So with this trait, there'll be 2 chances, 2 times during the game, for the Xol player to choose how they're going to play this hero throughout the battle. The choices will be chosen at level 1 and level 10, allowing the player to change in the middle of the battle which direction they're headed. This will allow the Xol player to be a flexible hero that is able to flex into whatever position the team needs at the current moment.
Cool. I like that the middle of the game gives you the chance to change as well, because a lot of the time games can turn around at level 10. I mean, there's so many times you're playing against a team that's weak until they hit 10, they get their heroics and all of the combos they planned for, and then they just wipe the floor.
Totally. That has happened to me tons of times where you think you're steamrolling this team, the heroics come out, and then you're in trouble. You're in trouble after that. And to be able to counter that as well, you know, to be able to say, I want to completely change the way that I'm playing this hero. So right now we have Varian, and you kind of build for Varian throughout. And when you get to 10, that's when you pick your major different ability. But you've been building from 1 to 10 thinking that you're going to be taking Twin Blades or whatever it is that you're taking when you get there. So the fact that this kit has the idea of you can change what you have picked from the beginning and complete 180 it if you wanted to. So let's get into it a little bit. At level 1, you're able to choose any combination of 2 of these abilities. So any 2 of these. So the first one is called Life Leech, and it's a beam that's going to deal a small amount of damage to the enemy, and it returns a percentage of that damage back to Xol as health. This ability would live on Q. Now, the one that would normally be paired with a thought like this would be one called Contact Lens. It's a defensive barrier that covers Xol, providing armor and increased health. This one would live on W. So the thought process here is that if you chose these 2 together, you would be tankier and have more sustain for yourself.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. So who would you be looking for that you're playing against to make these decisions? Would you see Xol having direct counters, or is this so general that Xol would just fit into most situations?
I think it's pretty general. I think you would pick this hero when you needed somebody that was able to flex. So you're looking at the enemy team and you're like, well, if they go this direction with their builds, then we're going to have a lot of damage that we have to deal with. But if they go this direction with their builds, then we don't have to deal with that at all. And it would just be a waste of time to be having these types of abilities on this hero. So we're not going to pick this hero altogether. You know, that's the kind of thing that I want to try to avoid, where she would be able to live in a place that kind of is gray throughout this whole thing. Now, the second set of abilities, the first one is called Beam of Fire. Here we go. Beam that deals a large amount of damage to the enemy. Same kind of thought as Kristen's, just not, it's more basic. It's just a straight up beam that deals damage. That lives on Q. And then Beam of Frost, because I also wanted to make Jaina jealous. So this beam will freeze a target enemy hero in ice. They act exactly as if they had used ice block on themselves and cannot attack or be attacked. So they're just going to be frozen in a block of ice.
Cool. And is this a skill shot, or just you target a hero and if you're close enough, they're locked up?
I think it's a skill shot, but like a beam skill shot. So maybe it's like a half of a second of kind of targeting that Cho'Gall beam or that Li Ming beam. You know, you have just a half a second to hit somebody with this, and if it does, it freezes them in a block of ice. And that one would live on W. So the third set here, the first one is called Life Beam, and it's a beam that's going to heal friendly heroes that are hit by it. And then the last one is called Clear Eyes, and Xol is going to fire a beam at a target friendly hero, and it cleanses them of all negative effects that are currently on them.
Nice. So a cleanse. And what's the cooldown for this cleanse? Are we looking at a cleanse that you can just spam?
I don't know about spam, but I think it's pretty... I mean, so Johanna, who I played yesterday for the first time in like a million years... In fact, at the end of the game, I said, is this a good time for me to tell you guys that I have no idea what Joanna's Q does?
Always a good time to say that. Always.
I waited till we won that 45-minute ARAM game, and then I told them that after. But yeah, I think it should be that. I mean, that's pretty decently short cooldown on that for yourself. Maybe make it a little longer and be able to cleanse your friends.
Cleanse your friends. Oh, it could be called that instead. No, but maybe one of the talents that goes into it could be that. So that brings up, how do the talents work with this then? Are the talents more generalized, or do the talents you get to choose from change based on the pairing you've taken?
That's a really good question that I didn't think of, but I like the generalized idea. Like maybe, at 4 you're picking a movement speed or more armor or whatever. Like you can pick to augment Xol herself rather than the abilities that you're using. Maybe you can add another beam if you wanted to while you were picking talents. I mean, you could go a whole crazy direction, as if it's not crazy enough, because out of all those abilities that I just read, you get to pick 2 at level 1 from any of those groups. So you could pick Life Leech and the Life Beam. So you could be beaming and using the Life Leech, or you could use the Beam of Fire, and you could also pick the Contact Lens. So it's going to give you more armor and you're able to deal more damage. So that's where the multi-class part comes in.
Gotcha. So what if you choose 2 of the abilities that are supposed to be on Q? Do you only get to choose a Q and a W, or you can choose whatever the heck you want, and the second one you choose is the one that ends up on W?
Great thought. I think you can choose whatever you want, and the second one you choose ends up on W, because I really want you to be able to just mash the crap out of this and choose whatever you want to counter the team that you're playing, and then the other team should know what they should pick and then sort of bait you into choices, and you're stuck with these until 10. But when you get to 10, you put the dice back in the cup and you're able to select 2 more. Now these are just augmentations to the abilities that we already know. So the Life Leech Beam is also going to pierce, so it's going to be able to go through enemies and take health from anybody that it hits. The Contact Lens is not only the protective barrier, but it'll give you a Burning Rage that'll also deal damage to the enemies. We all love Burning Rage here on this show. Then we go into the Beam of Fire, which it also pierces at level 10 if you choose it. The Beam of Frost is going to allow your team to attack people that are frozen in the ice. So it basically turns it into a stun at this point, like a full-on stun. And then the Life Beam is going to pierce if you select it at level 10. And then Clear Eyes, the one where it allows you to cleanse, is also going to make them invulnerable for a specific amount of time. So basically a D-shield at that point at level 10.
Oh my goodness. They're so simple when it comes to augmentations, but they're so effective at that point, because at level 10, you should be able to do these things with these abilities.
I know. I read this out and I'm like, well, maybe that's too strong. Maybe that's
Nope.
too strong. It would need to be balanced in a way. Maybe it's a shorter invulnerability than Divine Shield or whatever. But I love the fact that at 10, you can scrap everything you did and pick any 2 of these again.
So in that case, you're playing, what, 3D chess or something? Enemy team's trying to bait you to build a certain way, but maybe you build to get them to build a certain way. And then come 10, you laugh in their faces because they moved their queen, and now checkmate.
That's right. You chose the Life Beam or whatever, and that is just what they didn't plan for, and now you're in trouble. They also have to completely flip the way that they're playing against you at level 10. We see that a little bit with Varian, right? We see the heroic choice. You have to sort of interact with Varian differently after 10 than you did beforehand, and I love that. Love, love, love. So for mounting, I'm saying that just increase movement speed like we talked about before, but the propeller idea is just killer.
Take it. Everyone can have little propellers if they want. Okay. So visually, when you choose these beams, visually what's happening with her? Does anything happen to show that she's choosing specific beams? Or is it just going to be simple and different colored lasers come out?
I think that maybe her eyes change colors depending on what traits you've taken, and also the UI would have to be rebuilt so that you could open up the tab menu while you're playing the game and you would be able to see what abilities she has taken. Or maybe it shows up on the sidebar, like as you're playing the game, like it shows you what Xol's traits are that she chose. That way we want it to be fair, right? We know when quests are complete, we know when all of this stuff is happening. If you're smart enough to open up the tab menu as you're playing the game, you can see what abilities they've taken, you can see what you're fighting against, and you know that. So I think that needs to be played out against the rest of it.
Agreed. Or if you're coordinated enough, because I know it's the middle of the battle and someone's asking if an enemy hero has a talent. I'm like, hold on. And I look down at my button. I gotta move to a safe space because I gotta pull out my glasses, my old mom glasses.
Yeah, that's what I have to do too.
Like.
Hey, at least you're doing it. I mean, that was a huge step for me to be able to, do the research while playing the game and see what's going on. So that's great. So those two that you pick from your traits only augment your Q and your W. So you have a built-in E ability as Xol. And that's called I Only Have Eyes for You. Now, this ability allows Xol to move up on a hero, attaching herself to their back until it's deactivated. So they'll share all of the damage that comes in from the enemy team, and they'll still be able to use all of their basic attack abilities, but this is basically making you a Cho'Gall to a friendly hero. So you can, squid your way up to a friendly hero and latch on and just ride along that way, and you share the damage together.
That's adorable. I knew beholders could be cute, and I've seen some fan art of cute beholder drawings. And I know she's not a beholder, she's an observer, but let's not fool ourselves. So I love this idea that she's so into her team, she's willing to piggyback on a hero. Now, are there size restrictions, or she can piggyback? Does she change her size to fit on a Murky, say, versus an Asmodan?
No, I think she stays the same size. So Murky's got to put that Xol backpack on and just run the same speed. The reason I'm thinking about this, it's funny that you thought about helping your team. Like you want to be, I was thinking of it the opposite direction of, hey, Genji, get me out of here. Like, I'm going to jump on your back and I'm going to fly out of here. And then I'll detach myself when I'm good and ready.
That's great. That works too. Parasites, right? I mean, hopefully it's somewhat symbiotic, but it's mostly parasitic.
Yeah, it's parasitic for sure. Now, when you get to 10, not only do you get to roll the dice again and choose what hero you want, but you also get to have this one heroic ability that comes in. It's auto-picked for you, and it goes right onto your R button when you get to 10. So this beam has a massive wind-up. I'm talking like the longest wind up in the game so far, and it's a very thin beam that will travel the length of the battlefield, so all the way across the battlefield. If any hero that has taken damage is hit by this ability, they will die and be placed on a reduced death timer. So you got to place this in the right spot. You got to, I think it's longer than you got to really wind this thing up, maybe half the duration of a mosh pit. Like that long.
Ooh, so this is something you'd want to cast where enemies can't see you.
Yeah, or combo it. So like if you think you put somebody in a maw, right? I think the cast time for this would be so long that you'd have to activate this first. And once you activate it, it's pointing in that specific direction. And then somebody would have to maw a bunch of people in the pathway of this. And then once the maw pops open, the beam shoots out and anybody that's hit by it would get hit. But you'd have to practice timing like crazy for this.
Oh, no doubt. And you say if any hero that's taken damage, enemy hero or both friendly and enemy heroes?
Oh, good question. Just enemy heroes. You don't want to kill your own friends.
I mean, you can. We are talking about a little parasite here. Confirmed lore. Hashtag. But yeah, no, that would be so sad. You managed to hit your teammates, but you can't hit enemies for the life of you.
Yeah. I mean, I want the feeling like you have of insta-kill. And I want to be able to provide that with a reduced death timer. So if you do die to the beam of death, then you come back sooner than you would have.
Oh, so how long is the cooldown on this, and how reduced are the death timers?
I also think it's a massive cooldown. Like, if you're going to use this, it's your big, powerful, all-in, game-ending move, and you're going to have to wait a really long time if you miss. Just because you could straight up team wipe them with one ability. So I really want to give a give and take here, and I'm really trying to make this balanced.
That's fair. That's fair. Because, I mean, as much as we'd love to be able to farm team kills, we shouldn't be able to farm team kills. No,
you're right. You're right. And I mean, but that's Xol, right? I mean, the last boss in this dungeon that just destroys you in like 2 turns, possibly, you can die to this. So I wanted that feeling moving forward. If I had to sum this whole thing up, I mean, it is the multi-class hero it's just for the win. You're really trying to practice your abilities, get to know the enemy team's playstyle, get to know your team's playstyle, and then build around it. And if you screw it up at 10, you get a second chance.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. And I love, too, how much this build relies on your knowledge of the game. So people who know this game in and out, talents and abilities for every hero, are probably going to find a very rewarding experience with this kind of ability to build.
Yeah, and the beholder look and feel would be a really cool one to add to the game. A silhouette that we don't currently have. It would be really, really neat. Before we can call this HeroesForge, though, we got to talk about specialty skins and dance moves. Duh. Let's start with Kristen's specialty skin.
All right, this one is Xol the Unscathed. Who has time for a bath when you have no arms? Xol the Unscathed is the dirtiest floating particle of garbage to hit the Nexus. I imagine it's got a little dust cloud around it. Is it a little turd? Is it not? Maybe it's just a dirt ball instead that could be poo.
So, who has time for a bath when you have no arms? So is this a pun on the fact that you can't have a watch because you have no arms? Or is this like basically we can't bathe ourselves because we have no arms?
I was just saying because it doesn't have little hands at the end of the tentacles to clean itself. So I figured, and it's a beast from the most evil realms of evil and unknown stuff. So why would they bathe themselves?
Amen.
Boggles the mind.
It does.
It's beyond reason.
It is beyond it's beyond doubt that is the coolest skin idea. My specialty skin is Ben Stein. The difference is clear. Clear eyes. Wow.
Wow. That is perfect. So I'm assuming a giant eyeball. Would it have water wash over to wash away the red?
Yeah, that's one of the skin variations for this. The other one is just a really, really pixelated picture of Ben Nye's face as like a paper mask that Xol wears on the front, so it just looks like Ben Nye.
Yes, and then we could get him to come in to voice act and give that wonderful wow.
That's right.
Or mega kill. That would be so good. The announcer back.
That's right. The Ben Stein, not Ben Nye. Ben Nye is a brand of theatrical makeup.
It's good makeup, though. I mean, he's kind of got a monopoly on theater makeup, but it's good stuff.
Yeah. Ben Stein is what I'm talking about here. And yes, the Ben Stein announcer pack would be auto purchase.
Mm-hmm. Oh, if we go back to Ben Nye, you could totally have a cat's face for
Like
Or
Jellicle
Xol.
cats.
Exactly, like a Jellicle cat or Frumpster or Tabby Bottom or whatever their names were.
So
it was a fun show, but the names don't stick with me.
No. You would call it a fun show. I think I would call it a fun nap.
It's long, and it was taken from a book of poetry, so the plot is loose.
Mm-hmm.
If we're generous. But it's basically this variety show, a very practiced variety show where everyone's dressed as cats.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it goes on for 3 hours.
The way that we made a Xol skin based off of this was because I accidentally called Ben Stein Ben Nye.
It works though, right?
Hey, however you get there, it doesn't matter. You still got there. My dance move for Xol is a DJ light show. So basically, she'll aim her face up towards the sky, and like all of the lights from all of her eyes will make a dance party for every other hero dancing.
Dude, that's something we don't have, is a hero that gives a dance floor to the other heroes. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and then it could create a whole nother category in there of like support dancers. So like it's not your role classification, but you're an assassin, but you are a support dancer. So instead of dancing, you might, maybe Probius turns into a disco ball.
Yes! I am in love with this idea, and suddenly it gets wider and wider. Eventually we get a robot thing that turns into a dance floor, and then we've got some backup dances, and eventually we have whole dance parties.
That's right. We need to have somebody with a fog machine, a foam machine, confetti launcher. Maybe you can purchase a support dance for a character that already exists, and maybe Jaina can make it snow.
Yes!
And then Tychus can make it rain.
Dude, yes. Oh, with his water gun.
I love it. What's your dance idea?
Not as cool as that. I'm just calling it the Medusa, and I think Xol would just scream in different directions and flare the tentacles in the directions that she screams.
I mean,
Let's just cover that up and go back to the laser light show.
Why don't we add that to the laser light show? Like maybe the laser light show happens when she's screaming each time.
There we go. Or there's a projection that shows up, and that's a little dance that's added to the laser light show in case any of your teammates don't get in on the sick dance party.
Their mistake.
Right? You single person who haven't gotten on voice, the four of us are having a great time, and you're sitting in the corner sulking.
That's what will make everybody get into voice chat is support dancers. I mean, seriously, Blizzard, if you're listening to this, which I'm sure you've made it to the end of this show.
They stopped at Ben Nye. The cats was too much. Blizzard has a line, and cats is too far.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Blizzard, if you're listening, we want two things on this show. Well, we want a lot of things. That's what this show is about.
But just two if we were really to cut the fat.
Yeah, we want seasonal skins. Like you pick a skin and it sticks with you and you can equip this skin, and if it's a different season, the skin looks different. And then what we want is support dancers. Dancers that don't dance but support the other players and get them boosted up. I mean, that is a morale builder if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, I mean, that builds teamwork right there, because then you're all trying to get into position to come up with the coolest scene ever. Because, we're all just trying to pass the time before the gates open.
I love it. Build the scene. Build the scene. All right.
Build the scene, be the scene.
Be the scene. You are the scene. And this hero was forged. And this episode of Heroes Forge was sponsored by Ben Nye Theatrical Makeup. Make sure you make your way on over to Ben Nye's website and buy some theatrical makeup.
Like I said, it's good stuff. I have a thing that I got 11 years ago, and it is still good.
For every production of Cats you could ever do, only one palette of Ben Nye makeup make you all the way through. That's their slogan.
All the way through.
I love it. Very cool. Xol is a really fun character to forge, as are most of the Hearthstone characters we talk about on this show. The lore is deep, but not really. I mean, we have a lot of room to play around, and that is what makes this so fun. Great choice, Kristen, with Xol. I think it's something that we could definitely see. I love the ideas that you had about having these beams and having a character that, you know, has a different type of silhouette flying around the Nexus and doing really funny things. And I think that multi-class stuff, like we talked about before, is an open door for Blizzard that they opened up with Varian. They've tweaked it and they're trying to get it to work. And I think it's so cool. And I want more multi-class ideas like that, because it's really fun to be able to play, and it's also a great learning tool to help you on other heroes that you're playing.
And Xol is perfect for that, right? She's got different eyes that do different things, so that entire idea really plays into the multi-class naturally. It wouldn't feel forced, and I think that might be one of the biggest obstacles when it comes to introducing more multi-class heroes.
Totally. And I think, as I say often, I want some Hearthstone heroes in this game. I think that's an IP that we definitely need to touch on in Heroes of the Storm. All right, Kristen, where can people find you on the interwebs when you're not on this show?
When I'm not on this show, you can find me at my new Twitter handle, just changed up this past week, @_Kristen Ashton _. Decided to put away the Dream Destroyer for now because there are no more dreams to destroy, only dreams to build. But you can find me over at twitch.tv/Dream Destroyer for morning streams. And then following me on Twitter, I update you all the time as to what's going on the other streams that I show up on, and say hello during the rest of the week.
Very cool. So what's the word I'm looking for here? Twitch. My gosh. You know when your brain just completely locks up. So on Twitch, you're still Dream Destroyer, but on Twitter, you're _Kristen Ashton _.
Correct.
All right. Very cool. Very cool to know. Make sure you check out all of Kristen's awesome content. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show live every Sunday at 12 noon right here on twitch.tv/AmoveTV. A huge thank you to AmoveTV for having us be a part of their awesome video game and esports network. Check out AmoveTV for more info on all their great content. Follow this show on Twitter @ForgeHeroes. Send us an email, contactheroesforge@gmail.com. Visit our website, heroesforge.club, and help support the show on patreon.com/HeroesForge. You can download the show on any of your favorite podcasting apps, including iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and some other ones out there. If you've got a favorite podcasting app, just search for Heroes of the Storm, and you'll find all the awesome shows, including this one, Heroes Forge. Don't forget to check out the Divinity 2 stream that's happening here in about an hour on twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. If you're into some Heroes of the Dorm casting, you can check that out at 6 o'clock this evening Pacific on twitch.tv/official_NAU_esports. Check it out there, and we'll have some fun together trying to pull these games. All right, Kristen, final thought on Xol.
I think it's funny that for as dark as Beholders are in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, Hearthstone observers, Xol is really kind of lighthearted. I mean, she's a hard boss, and it's kind of dark what she does, but it's just so colorful and lively that I think she has a nice home in the Nexus.
For sure. The color scheme is awesome. It would fit in the Nexus amazingly. We've seen some cool new colors with Maiev in the game, and Hearthstone does an amazing job of taking these, like you said, you know, usually pretty hard-ass characters and moving them over into the game and lightening them up and making them fun and have great interactions with other heroes in the game. I definitely think that we can see a Xol in the future, and then we would all be confused with Xol, Xuljin, and probably some other heroes that I can't even think of right now.
Exactly, but that would be the fun of it, right? Zol. And then we get we get Zuko from Avatar Last Airbender introduced, and he's referred to as Zuzu the whole time. It's good. Rexar, Rhaegar.
KT, Kel'Thas, Kale, Rexar, Rhaegar, you know, a caster's worst nightmare. Let's bring it on. Let's get some Xol in here. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you all in the real one.